Okay, friends, we are pumped to tell you guys about something that we took a lot of time
We
to
did.
do. A
This
lot
is
of
true.
time,
This is
energy,
true.
blood, sweat, and tears, and we just, man, we're pumped
Did you
to tell
cry, TJ? Who
you.
cried?
Huh? Cried?
You said there's tears.
Yeah, we're crying, dude, the whole time. So hopefully, you guys are loving the mission prep book, and we have a little special surprise. We did a mission prep masterclass
Hey,
for
yo.
y'all.
And what is a
Okay?
masterclass?
So we made this masterclass, man. It's basically kind of the book, but we made some, we got videos just breaking down, teaching those main principles and things that are in the book. And they're basically all just to kind of go along with the book and hype you up about missions and get pumped. And it's awesome, man. We're pumped for you guys to see it. And it's for free.
That's true.
So that's another cool thing about it.
And it was
TJ
actually
was feeling generous. That's why. TJ's generous.
it was actually so fun too because we actually all share some really like personal mission stories that happened on our mission. And I feel like all those experiences really just created the people we are today. It was really cool to see like, TJ stories and Grace's stories and Tal's stories. So
And
like
Hollis's. We liked your stories too, Hollis.
Oh, thanks. That's really nice. Just like tune in and just really like see what changed us, but also what can change you too.
And I feel like that's something good to know. The book is really like a study through it, like an individual personal study through scripture. We wanted to make the class a little bit more personal, our stories, our thoughts intermixed with different scriptures. So it will be different than the book, very complementary to the book.
100%.
So really fun, really exciting. We have a lot of other exciting things happening, kind of a similar thing, but a little different, and we can't wait. Welcome to This is Kingdom, a Good News Brand podcast. This is Grace.
This is Talon.
This is TJ.
This is Hollis. And this week we are going over the talk, Nourish the Roots and the Branches Will Grow by Elder Uchtdorf.
And y'all, when I was reading this talk, I got thinking about different kinds of friendships that we have in our lives. And the more I thought about it, I really think there's three kinds of friendships that we have. Number one, you got your memory friendships. And what I mean by that is it's people that you're not really in contact with anymore. You don't really talk to anymore, but you have some sweet, sweet memories with. I've got some high school buddies like that, some mission buddies like that I just look back at our times and I love them and I cherish them. But honestly, I don't really talk to them anymore. Then you got your stagnant relationships. I feel like that's a lot of the people that you see. Maybe you see them day to day at work, but you never really have deep interactions. You just see them again and again, and it's kind of always the same interactions, and it never gets deeper than that. And those are fun. Those are good. We love having those relationships in life. But then there's growing relationships. And those are the kind of relationships that you continue to have meaningful experiences. Your relationship is getting richer and richer, deeper and deeper. And honestly, I think those are the relationships we live for. I think those are the relationships that get us through life. You know what I mean? And I loved in this talk, it said something. And when I read it, I was like, he's just telling us that Jesus wants to have a growing relationship with us, not a memory one, not a stagnant one, but one that's growing. He said a testimony, and I'll kind of just add in for me, a relationship with Christ is not something that you build once and it stands forever. It's more like a tree that you nourish constantly. And I love this because I feel like he's telling us that's great if you've had experiences with Jesus. Don't let that relationship become a memory relationship.
I love that because when Tal was going off about that, of how he reminds him of these three friendships, it reminded me of an article I read. Like it was a scientific study that talked about how those are real. Those are the exact three
I'm a
friendships. that we have.
scientist, y'all.
You are a
Come on.
scientist, Dr. Savage. Okay. And what was really interesting is that first relationship he was talking about, what they term a commemorative friend, is not someone you expect to hear from, see, maybe ever again, but they were important to you at an earlier time in your life, and you think of them fondly for that reason, still consider them a friend. And it made me think of sometimes when maybe you gone on a mission and Jesus was so big in your life. You had this huge moment with Christ, this huge spiritual experience, and you remember it. You're like, that was so cool. And you treat it as a memory. You treat it as something really cool in your life, but it has no real significance to you right now. And there are times in my life where I felt that, where I've had those spiritual experiences, but right now I've been living kind of a dull, day-to-day, stuck in the routine kind of life. And I don't want to live that kind of life. I want to live a kind of life where I can keep referring to Jesus as my best friend. And I feel like referring to him as someone who was just there, someone who was like, oh yeah, that was a good time, would make me so sad and has made me sad before, and reminded me this is something I need to nourish, something I need to water, something I need to treat like a tree, like Elder Uchtdorf is talking about.
Well, and that's so interesting because I'm not like a plant person. I never have been. I kill every single plant that I've ever been in charge of in my entire life. But this year I recently got a tree. It's a fig tree.
Hey.
I'm really excited about it. I'm really so excited about it. And I got it and it's so perfect. It's everything I could have ever dreamt of. And what I started realizing is I truly did not know how to care for a tree. I had no idea how to care for a tree at all. In fact, the first week that I had it, I really almost killed it because I was just making up whatever I wanted to do to build the tree. And I had a really good idea of what I wanted the tree to become, but I had no idea how to get there. And I think that that is often the case with our relationship with Jesus. That maybe we have a really good idea of where we want it to be. And we hear this and we're like, yeah, no, I really want a growing relationship with Jesus. That sounds perfect. That sounds like what I'm wanting. And then you stop and you think, I've never had that before in my life. I've never been successful at that before in my life. Or maybe you pause and you think, there was a time in my life where that's true about my relationship with Jesus. And I had really good memories and we were really close, but that's not true anymore. And I don't know where to go from here. And what is cool about me and my stupid fig tree is that I just learned. Like, I just called people and I said, hey, can you help me figure out how to water it? My sister has one, so I just called her and I was like, hey, I have no idea how to care for this plant and all my leaves are dying. Can you please help me? And I have a student at school that is really into doing plants. And I said, hey, can you help me? What am I supposed to do for my fig tree? And I started watching videos on videos about how I could care for my fig tree. And now I'm really doing it. And I remember to water it every week. And I know how much water to give it. And I know what kind of plant food I need to give it. And I think that maybe it's the same with our relationship with Jesus. Just because you haven't been good at it before, just because you're not sure where to go from it now, you can just simply learn. You can learn how to develop a better relationship with him. You can change your relationship with him from maybe a stagnant or maybe a memory relationship with him into a relationship that is growing.
I will say that's one of the funnest things. I've had that happen with friends that were memory friends, and then all of a sudden they come back to your life, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, I forgot how much I love this friend, you know? And it's such a beautiful thing that I think Christ invites us to do right now. Like, if he's been a memory friend, you can change that right now. And that's exciting for me, you know?
Yeah, it's fun that it can happen like in a day, you know? You could just hit him up. I mean, you know, more respectfully and reverently, not him. I'm thinking more like a friend. You could hit up a friend and rekindle that, which is funny because I was just before we were talking, and I'm thinking of a friendship right now that it's starting to become a little bit of a memory friendship, and I'm like, no, like I don't want that to become a memory friendship. And I love that it can take a day to have a phone call, and I think it's the same with you can rekindle that relationship with Jesus Christ. And I love Grace, as you're sharing about your tree. And what it sounds like is all this advice you got from your friends, it all came down to like a few like kind of small and simple things that you can do to like really nourish that fig tree. And there's this quote from Elder Uchtdorf where he says, if you want to nourish a tree, you don't splash water on the branches, you water the roots. And I think maybe after we've been trying to build this, you know, growing relationship with Jesus Christ for a while, I think we might get tempted to start to try to do that, to start to like splash some water on the branches, you know, because maybe you see someone else's relationship with Jesus Christ and you're like, oh, that's crazy. Like I want it super cool like that or like this or whatever. But I think it's been important for me to remember that it's in those small and simple choices daily of spending time with Heavenly Father in prayer, of trying to make it to the temple, of trying to spend time in his word that has helped me really like nourish those roots and like build that growth relationship with Jesus Christ. And when you're tempted to think that, oh, maybe it's out here doing this crazy thing or this influencer said this, like just remember it's those small and simple things that will bring about great things in that relationship.
I love that because I feel like one way we splash water on branches is that water turns into excuses. I feel like you might be able to relate to me, but with some friends, I don't reach out to them because they either did something that I'm waiting for them to reach out to me about.
That is so real.
Like,
this is good. This
no,
is
because
actually good.
I feel like there's so many times when I'm in a friendship and I'm like, yeah, I will. I know it's an important friendship, but you did something and you need to tell me about it. You need, like, I need forgiveness from you about it, or I need you to reach out to me about it all the time. And it's so interesting because there's this thing in this study which I love, and it says the beautiful, special thing about friendship, that friends are friends because they want to be, that they choose each other. It's a double agent because I can choose to get in and I can choose to get out. I'm choosing to get out of the friendship when I'm splashing water with excuses, with stories I make up, and with things where I'm keeping them out of my life, when in reality, I have the ability to choose to maintain that friendship. And I believe and know that's my relationship with God too. Sometimes I'm looking at God and be like, God, where were you here? Where were you there? And why are you not here with me right now? And I can make tons of excuses when in reality, he has always been there, but it's me who's keeping that friendship not as close as I want it to be. It's me who has the power to actually reignite that friendship. And that's with every relationship and friendship we have. We have the power. We need to stop waiting. I feel like we wait so much for someone to do something when we're the ones who should be doing it.
This is so interesting because for some reason, I feel like we talk a lot about different kinds of friends and building a relationship with Jesus, but for some reason, talking about it like this with these specific different types of friends is really like changing the way I see it, which is interesting because also I feel like TJ, there's been friends like that in my life right now that I feel like we're kind of maybe drifting apart or they're becoming like, oh, like they were my friend in that time period in my life, but maybe right now I'm having new friends, which is normal and that's totally fine. But I also like the other day was like with one of those friends, like we ended up like going to dinner and we sat there and we talked for like hours and we were having like the best night ever. And I remember leaving and just thinking, oh, it was just that simple. Like all that we needed to do was we needed to just go to dinner and we just needed to talk about the right conversations. And once we started having the right conversation, I felt that friendship change. And I think it's the same with our relationship with Jesus, that it really isn't maybe all that complicated. We just need to know the place to start. And there's a really powerful line in the talk that I love where he says, he gives you 3 different things. And I feel like it's almost this starting place that if you're like, okay, I do want a growing relationship with Jesus, what are the tools that I need to grow it? And he just says, focus on these things. Seek to understand his sacrifice for you, his love for you, and his will for you. And how beautiful of a place to start that if you're wanting to work on your relationship with him, going to those 3 places, studying his sacrifice for you, realizing and understanding how he feels about you, and then understanding that he has incredible and beautiful plans for your life and buying into those. And I just think there's something really beautiful about him saying, oh, look, you want a building relationship with Jesus? Start here.
Yeah, whether you feel like you've never really had a relationship with Jesus or you feel like right now you have a memory relationship with Jesus, just make a decision. I'm going to have a growing relationship with Jesus. That's all it takes is that decision and then the time with him. And when you start to do that, that relationship is going to become one of the most beautiful parts of your life right now.
I love to read the Holy Scriptures, and every time I do, I feel the Spirit start to grow within my heart, a testimony that they're true. Search, ponder, and pray are the things that I must do. The Spirit will guide, and deep inside I'll know the Scriptures are true.
See you next week.